Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take materials you suggest and, well, we pull out the key insights so you can get up to speed fast.
Yep, get right to the core of it.
Exactly. So today we're looking at an article by Brent Zeman. It's called Divine Authority of Self-Liberation, Breaking the Chains of Emotional Bondage.
Quite a title.
It is. And our mission here is pretty straightforward. Really get a handle on Zeman's ideas about the power we all have to overcome emotional pain, suffering.
Okay, so things like personal authority, pain versus suffering.
Right, exactly. And forgiveness, boundaries, that kind of thing. So let's get into it.
All right, so Zeman kicks things off with this idea of a decisive act of will. It's about deciding consciously to end the tyranny of pain, as he puts it.
A decisive act, not just hoping it goes away.
Precisely. And this decision, he says, comes from realizing you have this inherent authority, this inner strength. It's like you finally say, okay, enough.
Yeah, and he contrasts that with what he labels the great deception, which is what exactly?
It's the belief that other people or external events are the real source of our hurt, that they hold the power to wound us fundamentally.
Okay. Like someone makes you feel bad.
Exactly. He suggests this is a kind of deception, a lie from our enemy, as he terms it. The idea that the outside world is solely responsible for our inner state.
But he's saying the truth is different.
Yes. The truth, according to him, is that others can only really harm us deeply if we sort of lower our defenses, if we surrender our spiritual armaments, is the phrase he uses.
Spiritual armaments, like inner resilience.
Kind of, yeah. Inner defenses, maybe. And then there's this related lie, the idea that we're irreparably damaged by painful experiences.
Like you can't ever truly recover.
Right. But Zeman argues the opposite. He says the capacity to heal is innate. It's built into us by the Creator. It's always there.
So it's not about waiting for an apology or for circumstances to change, because that's often how it feels, doesn't it? You feel like you need something out there to happen first.
That's exactly the mindset he's challenging. He's saying the power source for healing is internal, not external.
Okay. That leads into another really key distinction he makes, doesn't it? Pain versus suffering.
Yes, absolutely crucial. Pain, he says, is real. It happens. Life throws things at us that hurt.
Like stubbing your toe, physically or emotionally. It's unavoidable sometimes.
Right. But suffering, that, he argues, is different. Suffering is largely our response to the pain. It's the story we tell ourselves about it. It's, in a way, a choice.
A choice. That sounds bold.
It is. But think about it. An event happens. It causes pain. Do you then choose a narrative of, say, victimhood, where you replay it endlessly? Or do you choose a story of resilience, of learning from it?
So suffering is the narrative.
In large part, yes. It's how we frame the pain. It's the meaning we assign to it. And that's where our power lies, in choosing that frame.
Okay. And when he talks about rising from pain, what does that look like? It's not just ignoring it, right?
Definitely not. It's not pretending it didn't hurt. It's about reclaiming your true identity after the hurt. He says your identity isn't defined by what happened to you.
But by
whose you are, as he puts it, suggesting something more fundamental, something deeper and untouched by the experience.
Okay. Let's shift to forgiveness then, because he frames this in a pretty active way. The warfare of forgiveness.
Yeah, it's striking terminology. It immediately counters the idea of forgiveness as weakness or passivity.
So it's not about being a doormat.
Not at all. He calls it spiritual warfare, a divine strategy. And here's the kicker. He says forgiveness is primarily for the benefit of the person who was hurt.
For me, if I'm the one forgiving.
Yeah.
Not for the person who caused the hurt.
Exactly. That's the twist. Often we think forgiving lets the other person off the hook. Zeman says no, it lets you off the hook. It breaks the hold that memory and resentment have on your spirit.
So it's like taking back territory inside yourself.
No, that's a great way to put it. Reclaiming your spiritual territory. It acknowledges the wrong, the offense wasn't okay, but it refuses to let that poison continue to spread within you.
And this act unlocks healing.
That's the claim. It opens the door to a level of healing that might have seemed impossible while holding on to the bitterness.
Which logically leads to boundaries, I guess. If you forgive but don't want it to happen again.
Precisely. He calls it the architecture of boundaries. You need clear limits to protect the healing space, to prevent re-injury.
And what's his take on setting them? Do you need to explain yourself constantly?
Nope. That's key. He says there's no need to justify having higher standards for how you're treated. You simply enforce them.
Just enforce them.
Yeah. Removing yourself from disrespectful people or situations isn't being difficult. It's actually demonstrating self-worth. It's basic self-care in his view.
He mentioned something about not casting pearls before swine in this context.
Right. It's about being discerning with your energy, your love, your vulnerability. Don't keep offering your best self to people or situations that consistently trample on it.
It all loops back to that core idea. Your identity isn't defined by past pain.
Exactly. Which brings us to what he terms the alchemy of transformation.
Alchemy. Turning lead into gold.
Turning pain into
Strength, into wisdom, into who you become after you've navigated it. You're defined by the emergence, not the endurance.
Okay. And he acknowledges this change might not sit well with everyone.
Right. Your transformation might make some people uncomfortable. And his take is, well, maybe those people weren't meant for the transformed, healed version of you.
That's direct take.
It is. He sees pain, heartbreak, betrayal, delays, all sorts of difficulties, not as dead ends, but as teachers, instructors.
Forging resilience, like the divine fire idea.
Exactly. You're forged in divine fire. The focus shifts from just needing protection to needing a broader perspective, a deeper strength.
And when you align with this deeper identity, this divine identity, then falsehoods, negative attacks, they lose their power over you. They can't find purchase because you're grounded in something truer.
This sounds like reaching a state of being pretty solid, pretty resilient.
Yeah, he calls it becoming a sealed vessel, sealed by divine authority, anointed for a purpose, almost like you become, well, he uses the word dangerous.
Dangerous to what?
Dangerous to the forces, internal or external, that sought to fracture you. Because you're whole now, integrated.
And that's where the big declaration comes in. Nothing and nobody shall ever wound you again.
Which sounds impossible on the surface.
Right, but he clarifies. It's not that bad things won't happen or people won't try to hurt you. It's that you won't grant them the power to wound you at that deep core level anymore. Your internal state is no longer dictated by them.
So you stop giving unworthy voices access to your soul, basically.
Precisely. And you stop letting your history dictate your future. It involves distinguishing unhealthy attachment from true spiritual alignment.
Becoming immune to manipulation. More like resistant. Unshakable because you're rooted in something eternal, something true. He says, today can be the day you draw that line in the sand.
Leave the reactive, wounded self behind.
Yes, and recognize the power to stop the pain's advance is inside you now. You don't need to wait for an apology or for circumstances to change or for anything external.
Pain is just a signal, not who you are.
Exactly. A signal to pay attention, perhaps, but not your identity.
Which seems to lead to his final points about the present moment.
Right. Reclaiming the present and the daily decision. It's not about fixing the past you can't. It's about reclaiming this moment now.
Remembering that core strength you have.
Remembering your true nature and knowing you have the inner resources to rise above the pain, rather than just waiting for it to end on its own.
I like that line he uses. The memory may speak, but you are under no obligation to listen.
It's powerful, isn't it? It puts you back in the driver's seat. Inner healing comes from inside, from the beliefs you build about yourself. That's where peace and joy are constructed.
So pain loses its grip when you realize you're the observer of the feeling, not the feeling itself.
Exactly. You gain that critical distance. And this isn't a one-time fix, is it?
No, he emphasizes the daily decision. Every day you choose. You can declare no more to dwelling in those old wounds.
You take the pen, the quill, as he puts it, and you give it to faith, to your vision for yourself. You recognize you are more than what tried to break you.
True freedom is internal, aligning with your divine intention, as he frames it.
Yeah, that sums it up well.
So wrapping this up, our deep dive into Siemens' article really hammers home this idea of inherent power. The power to overcome emotional pain by, making that conscious choice first off.
Right, and understanding pain versus suffering, using forgiveness strategically for yourself, building those essential boundaries.
Recognizing your true resilient identity underneath it all, and just generally reclaiming that inner authority.
It definitely gives you a lot to chew on. Makes you think, okay, which of these ideas really hits home for me right now? How could I actually apply that, even in a small way?
Absolutely. It's about taking that step toward your own liberation, as he calls it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope exploring Brent Siemens' perspective has sparked some useful thoughts for you.
Hope it was helpful.
And hey, if you enjoyed this, And want more explorations like it, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you back for the next one.